Ben Franklin is a good episode of The Office, but I feel like we've taken a little bit of a step back, which I wasn't thrilled about. This is the 14th episode of the third season, it's directed by Randall Einhorn, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it starts off with Michael making a video for his son, a hypothetical son, for when he dies. And I wasn't expecting Dwight in a bra. Definitely wasn't on my bingo card today. And the main narrative focuses on the fact that it's almost Phyllis's wedding. So the women are having a bachelorette party. Michael's organising a bachelor party and he decides they need strippers. And we have my favourite Meredith moment so far, because Angela says, under no circumstance should a man strip off his clothes in this office. And Meredith yells, shut up, Angela. But what I really love is that we don't immediately cut to Meredith. We have maybe a second or two where we can hear her until we see her. And that was so effective. It was just like this voice cutting through everything and overshadowing everything. And it was brilliant. It was very, very well done. Jim is in charge of calling the male stripper, and Jim gets the female stripper, and Michael and Rainn are in a sex shop, and everything is blurred. And it's kind of like the screen is fizzing. It's a little bit trippy. And then the strippers arrive, and we have Elizabeth, played by Jackie Debatin, and Benjamin Franklin, played by Andy Daly. He's not actually a Benjamin Franklin stripper. Jim decided he wasn't going to call a stripper. He phoned, I think, the Historical Society or something, and he got somebody who dresses up as Benjamin Franklin and gives history lessons, and that's the ladies' entertainment, and they try and have a bit of fun with it. And in all fairness, he's an interesting character. The person performing as Benjamin Franklin was not fazed by anything. He was remaining in character, which I thought was really great. I love the costume. It looks a little bit cheesy and rough around the edges, and in a way that's rather good fun. Elizabeth the stripper, that part of the story did not go the way I was expecting. All of the guys are gathered around, and Phyllis's fiancé doesn't want any involvement in this. So Michael says, all right, fine, I'll do it. The stripper can strip for me. And the performance is really clunky. And Michael is visibly uncomfortable, and he starts to panic because he has a girlfriend. Not that bothered him when he was hiring this stripper for somebody else who was about to get married, but he panicked, and he ultimately ended up asking the stripper, Elizabeth, for advice on whether he should tell Jan, and he ultimately does tell Jan that the stripper very briefly writhed around on him. Honestly, I don't think it would be that big of a deal. Speaking as a female, if I had a partner and they went to a stag or a bachelor's and there was a stripper there and the stripper danced around them naked for a little bit, even touched them, I genuinely wouldn't care. Because to me, I'm not the kind of person who's into that sort of thing. If a stripper came to a bachelorette, I wouldn't care. But if that happened, it's kind of just like an interactive performance. So I don't think it's a bad thing. So I don't think Michael really had anything to feel guilty about, because he wasn't doing anything to be cheating on Jan. And maybe other people have a different opinion. I'd love to know what people think of this. So I'm not somebody who would ever hire a stripper. I would never want a stripper. But I would also never think that it's a form of cheating or anything. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, I'd be keen to hear them. But certainly I thought Michael overreacted, but at the same time, it's sweet. It's sweet that he was concerned how Jan would feel. Dwight then made Elizabeth answer the phones because he'd paid for 3 hours, so they were going to get 3 hours of work out of her, which was a little bit strange, but not as strange as the way he was treating Benjamin Franklin. He was basically quizzing Benjamin Franklin to, I guess, outsmart him based on Benjamin Franklin facts. And I took everything with a pinch of salt, but I learned quite a few things. I probably won't remember most of them by the morning, but it was an interesting little bit of trivia. And then we come to the bit that I didn't like. This is, of course, the part of the episode that focuses on Pam, Jim, and Karen. And near the beginning of the episode, I did quite like this because Karen said that they'd had a rough patch, but they'd had some long talks and they were in a good place now. She said this to the camera. And then immediately after, Jim was saying that they'd had a lot of long talks every night for, I think he said, 5 nights. So they're maybe not in the same headspace, and I do like that they were able to clarify that really early on. But then Karen spoke with Pam, and I don't know if this was the right thing to do or not, particularly if it was going behind Jim's back. We don't know if it was going behind Jim's back or if she told Jim she'd talk with Pam, but she basically said to Pam, I know about you and Jim, I know that you kissed, and I genuinely thought I had no idea that Karen would find that out. I'm not saying Jim shouldn't have told her that that happened, but up until she said that, I was just on the assumption that she just knew Jim had feelings for Pam. And that was it. So to find out that actually they'd kissed, I admire Jim for being truthful, but I certainly hadn't expected it. And again, I guess she was trying to clear the air and make things less awkward by just saying, look, I know everything. Let's not make things awkward. Let's not have any tension. And she's not pushing Pam away, which I like. And it also goes to show that she's actually a good person, because Pam was not that very nice to Karen when she first came over, yet now Karen has a reason to dislike Pam. I'm not saying she should see her as competition, but let's face it, that's what she is. And yet she's still wanting to be friends with her, and that says a lot about Karen, and I don't want her to be the good person here. And I just feel like it's a huge step backwards. That in itself felt like a step backwards. And then when they were in the room together, Pam and Jim and Ryan and Kelly, Pam said she needed a boyfriend and that she was ready to be set up with one of Ryan's friends from business school. And part of me thinks she said that for Jim's benefit, as a kind of, well, if you're not interested in me, look at me, I can move on. Part of me thinks maybe a tiny part of her is ready to try and move on. And I genuinely don't know what's going to happen next. My initial prediction was we'd find out at the beginning of this season. And then I thought we'll find out something good by the end of this season. And then with the previous episode, I thought, okay, it's going to happen in a couple of episodes' time. Pam and Jim are both going to realise they both really like each other. And now I just think, I don't know when it's going to happen. I'm going back to my prediction of the end of this season, but I feel like they're really messing with my emotions at this point, because we just take one step forward and 2 steps back and my heart is breaking, and I can't wait to watch the next episode. Ben Franklin is a brilliant episode of The Office. Definitely feels like a step back, but other than that, really thoroughly enjoyed it.